After a 111 to 108 loss against the Denver Nuggets, the Clippers are now 3-7 on the year and have lost their last 5 games, and this is coming after their blockbuster James Harden trade. And from the way it looks at it, when you watch the games, you watch the tape, and you just break it down, this is something that they need to be extremely concerned about. And just looking at last night's game, it was a lot of flaws that I seen throughout the team that, in my opinion, this is going to be hard to find a rhythm with this team, and for this team to find anything consistently reliable that they can rely upon game in, game out. Because in my opinion, the sole reason why they were managed to have that game close is because just how electric Paul George was throughout the first 3 quarters, and just how he just managed to keep them alive and stay in the game. And I give a lot of credit to Ty Lue. I know Ty Lue, he's trying a lot of things. He did do some things to work with what he has now. And he did, throw out some different lineups, throw out some different looks, and he did throw out some positives. But overall, even though I have a lot of faith in Ty Lue, this team is just foundationally and structurally flawed, just from a roster standpoint. Because when you look at the James Harden trade and you look at just what they just look at what the Clippers were good at and what they did well before the James Harden trade. What was one of their main key points and things that they did well, one of their positives as a team, and that was their forward and wing depth. When you look at the guys they had, Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, Kenyon Martin, they just had a lot of wing depth added to the fact that they have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They just had a lot of great wing depth, and they never really had, great big man play, but they did have Zubac, and they did have Mason Plumlee. But now that Mason Plumlee is injured, and when you look at the way Ty Lue likes to play a lot of small ball at times, and in a lot of instances you would see Kawhi Leonard playing the 4 or even the 5 in some instances, depending on the lineup and matchups from game to game. And that was something they did well. They had a lot of 3-and-D wings. They got out in transition. They played fast. They played in transition. And they played small and used that to their advantage with their size at the wing spot, and that they could throw out a lot of 6'7" to 6'10" just forwards. But now, what they traded to get James Harden, they traded all of their wing depth. They traded Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, Kenyon Martin. They traded all of their wing depth to get another guard, another ball dominant, not even just a guard, but another ball dominant playmaker. And that's something that this team it isn't built right. I'm not sure why they made that trade, but this is just a team that just isn't built right now. And they have to find some type of way a move is going to be made. They're going to need to bring in another big man, or they're going to have to trade one of these guys out, whether it be Russell Westbrook, or trade somebody to get in another big man, because with all these guys on the floor together, it's not going to work. And when you look at last night when they made their runs and they got out and they had some positives, it was with Russell Westbrook, kind of facilitating, and James Harden off the bench. And James Harden on the bench, So they're going to have to figure something out, because when you look at everything they did well, when you look at they gave up everything that they were good at to get James Harden, and this team is just structurally flawed, because when you got James Harden coming in saying that I am the system, I'm not a system player, the system is revolving around me. And I give props to Ty Lue, and not props, but I can see what Ty Lue did by saying James need to be James. We're going to let James, just to get James comfortable and to get James ready. But this is just something that's not going to work, because schematically and just structurally, this roster is extremely flawed, and there are just not a lot of things that this team does well. And I think it's going to show a lot on the back end of things, because when you look at just the way this lineup is shaped up, Mason Plumlee is out. They're not going to have a backup big man, and with the fact that Ty Lue likes to run a lot of small ball lineups, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kawhi Leonard start to get a little banged up, because Kawhi Leonard is going to have to spend a lot of time at the 4 and even the 5, and he's going to have to guard a lot of those, bigger big mans in the Western Conference. And not only that, you got Paul George, who's going to have to play. Sometimes he's going to have to play at the 4. He's going to have to play a physical 3 spot, to where he's going to have to, guard a little bit more, be a little bit bigger on the glass. And it's just something that that you don't want those guys doing. You don't want Kawhi Leonard spending too much time banging these big four and big fives throughout the league. You don't want Paul George having to consistently be your main rebounder because he's probably your most athletic guy on the court at the moment, just from a length and by a physical standpoint. So this isn't something that I'm expecting to work out. I'm not sure why they made this trade. It even puzzled me when they made the trade because I felt like they didn't need James Harden. And the fact that I didn't expect them to give up this much for James Harden, they gave up all of their wing depth to get James Harden and a lot of draft compensation. So this is just something that I think is just this was just a bad move on management. I'm not sure if Ty Lue agreed on it or whatnot, if Ty Lue was consulted about the move, but this was just a bad move from a front office standpoint, and this was something that's going to come back to bite them. And they're already 3-7 through the first 10 games, and this just isn't something that I'm expecting to really work out. I know that during the broadcast, Reggie Miller mentioned that these guys, they're all-star caliber players. These are some of the best players in the league. They're naturally just going to have to get into a rhythm. They're naturally just going to figure things out because they're just that good. But I don't believe that. I believe that this is something that just isn't going to work because it is just structurally flawed. This roster just isn't well put together post James Harden trade because they don't fit. One, they don't have a lot of size now because they gave up all of their forward depth. They don't have a lot of size, and they don't have a lot of great role players now. They just have they're just extremely top heavy. They're, in my opinion, the only great role players I'll say they have is Norman Powell, who is a smaller combo guard, Terrence Mann, who is a more athletic but still smaller. He's a bigger guard, but he's going to have to spend a lot of time at the 2 when you got James Harden coming in, and he's going to have to play that little guard wing spot. And not only that, you got PJ Tucker who plays the forward spot, but he still is 6'5". He still is only 6'5", and we seen that last night. Yeah, he gave Jokic some problems. He was able to not problems, but he was able to make it tough on Jokic, force Jokic to expend a lot of energy. But naturally, Jokic is just going to adapt and just work around that and find a way to get to the foul line, just start to slowly just, adapt. And this is just something that this team is just not, it's just not going to work, especially when you look at the rest of the Western Conference. When you look at teams like the Lakers, when you look at teams, just a lot of these other just bigger, more physical teams, This isn't something that's going to work out. And I think this was the last chance of this Clippers era, this mini Kawhi Leonard, Paul George era, to make it work and to do something and to make a run in the playoffs with these two healthy. But this just isn't something that I see working in the long run because it has a lot of flaws tied into it, and this just isn't something that I can see just boding well throughout the rest of the year. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. This is Brown Sports Report. My name is Ajari Brown. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Have a great day.